My girlfriend abandoned our 3 months old baby and came back after 3 years while dating another man. I'm fighting for full custody. My ex-girlfriend and I first got together 6 years ago, and from day one, we got on like two peas in a pod. Then, after 2.5 years together, she fell pregnant. We had spoken about kids before, and we both wanted a family, but not after just 2 years together. We spoke about it a lot, asked a few of our friends who already have kids, and eventually decided to go for it. We also agreed that even if our relationship doesn't last, our child's well-being will always come first. Right before the lockdown in 2020, 3 weeks before the due date, we welcomed a perfect little girl, and both of us were completely infatuated. It was a big adjustment, but our girl was an angel, and we settled into parenthood rather quickly. Everything was going great at first, but 3 months later, it all changed. I was working late when I got a text from my mother to tell her that my girlfriend dropped our daughter off with her while she ran some errands, but 4 hours later, she hadn't returned, and now she wasn't answering her phone. I called too, but she didn't answer me either. I got out of work, collected my daughter, and went home to find a note from my girlfriend. She said that she couldn't handle the stress of lockdown and the baby, and she just needed some time to clear her head. She also said not to call, and that we would talk soon, but days turned to weeks with no contact from her or anyone else other than her sister, who visited her niece often but never mentioned my girlfriend. Fast forward 3 years, and my ex-girlfriend is slowly starting to reach out again. It was slow at first, like photos of our girl on Instagram and the odd comment, but that was it until last week. She sent me a text saying that she had seen how well our daughter and I were doing and asking if we could meet up. I was reluctant, but we agreed before our daughter was born that her well-being was what mattered the most, so reluctantly, I agreed to meet for a coffee so she could see our girl. But I'm having second thoughts. How do I forgive her for walking out on me? And more importantly, on our daughter. Update. As agreed, my ex and I met up a few days ago in a local cafe, and I got there early to try and work out what I was going to say to her after 3 years. While I hadn't mentioned it in my original post, I had no intention of bringing our daughter along. My ex had contact numbers of my family members, so she was with a coworker, and when my ex arrived, she was a little disappointed, but not all that surprised to see I was alone. The next few minutes mainly consisted of small talk before we eventually addressed the enormous elephant in the room. Where had she been hiding for 3 years of our daughter's life? She admitted that she'd suffered a lot with postpartum depression, and she couldn't bear to show it in front of our girl. She acknowledged that leaving the way she did was wrong, but she wanted to be able to focus solely on herself while she got therapy. I asked why it took her 3 years to resurface. She sent a text for our daughter's first birthday. But that was it, and she broke down, admitting that she was so scared of what I thought of her for disappearing. In a way, she was right to be scared because, while I could come to terms with being dumped, I was furious because she left our daughter. Throughout our conversation, I could tell she's grown a lot as a person over the last few years, which is something. We spoke for well over an hour, and when I finally got up to leave, she asked where we stood. I told her that I appreciate that she's been really trying to turn over a new leaf, but it's going to take time for me to fully move on. As a show of good faith, I showed her a video of our girl. It's about 6 or 7 months old, but it's my favorite. It's her and one of my dad's cows mooing at each other. Just before I left, I got her phone number so we could maintain a bit of proper contact rather than through social media, and I agreed to send her a couple of photos of our girl. I appreciate all the advice I got last time, and I'm wondering where my ex and I go from here. My hope is that we can coexist and maintain a healthy friendship for our daughter's sake. But after what happened before, it's hard to fully trust my ex. What do you guys think? Side note. 2 things I didn't mention to my ex. I have zero intentions of rekindling our relationship. I'm open to co-parenting if she can prove she's not going to pull another disappearing act. But that's it. I really loved her once, but I'm a different person now, and that ship has well and truly sailed. At one point, I considered putting our girl up for adoption. She was about 9 months old at the time. I was mentally and emotionally drained. Work was stressing me out, and coming home to my daughter just didn't give me any joy as much as I love her. I was going through the process, but one night, I looked in at her in her cot, and she looked back at me with a look on her little face. She had a cute little smile, and her blue eyes shone like I was her whole world. It told me that things would get better, so I canceled the adoption and never looked back. Update 2. It's been a few weeks, so I thought I'd give another update regarding progress with my ex. First off, thanks to everyone for the advice and support. It's been such a huge help. So, down to business. Per my ex's request, I accompanied her to a session with her therapist, and she reassured me that she and my ex have made good progress. but she still has some issues to work through. Specify her relationship with her parents. She told me they separated and her mother had a temper, but I didn't know how bad it really was. After the session, my ex left, and I hung on for a minute to ask her therapist for her opinion regarding reintroducing my daughter to my ex. She recommended holding off for now and offered me a free session to talk about it. So I'm going to see her next week. On a more positive note, my daughter started preschool 2 weeks ago, is already making friends, and has been absolutely loving life. And I sent my ex a few photos of our girl to show some support, so things are looking up. Thanks again to everyone who has commented so far. The support I got has been incredible. It makes the struggle of raising a child alone a little better. Update. I didn't intend to do another update until my ex and I had made good progress, but she made a confession yesterday, and I don't know how to handle it. She called me yesterday morning, asking if we could meet up since she had something important to tell me. I was off, and my kiddo was at preschool, so I had half an hour to meet her. Soon after I got there, she asked me about our girl, and I told her she was doing well. Moments later, she broke down and told me that she wanted to tell me why she decided to reach out, so that there weren't any secrets between us. She admitted that she had been seeing a guy, I don't know his name, so we'll call him Luke, for about 18 months. I was initially pissed off at the thought of her dating while I was raising our girl alone, but she was in tears, so I held back. She admitted that Luke had taken her to his nephew's christening, and she had a total breakdown at the sight of the baby and the thought of our daughter. She apparently got really drunk and broke down in tears before admitting to Luke that she had a child that she had basically abandoned. Apparently, she tried to distance herself from Luke after that, but he stuck with her, and his love and support inspired her to see a therapist and reach out to me. I would have run a mile if I were in his shoes, so he has my respect for helping her through that difficult time. I told her I was glad she told me and happy that she has someone who is so devoted before I left to collect the kiddo. But now that it has fully sunk in, I can't wrap my head around it. How could she have gone off and dated someone else while I was left with our child? I've started to have second thoughts about her second chance, but since I'm not going to my therapist for another week, I thought I'd share it here to hopefully get some advice because, while I would like my daughter to know her mother in some capacity anyway, I can't overlook the fact she was dating someone else while I was raising our daughter by myself. Update 4. A few people asked for an update after I saw my therapist, so here it is. I spoke with my therapist about my ex and how I felt regarding the revelation of her new partner. But the main thing we focused on was my daughter. He asked me to think about my ex and my daughter and what I was afraid of. I admitted that I was worried my ex would turn my daughter against me or get close and break her little heart. He talked about my daughter falling over and getting hurt. Kids get hurt, and we can't always be there when it does, but they can learn from it. The point was to remind me that my daughter knows I'm there if she gets hurt. As for my ex turning my daughter against me, he noted that there's only been one constant factor in my baby girl's life from the day she was born. Me, her daddy. I'm her entire world, just like she's mine. It reminded me of my brother's birthday back in the summer. She bumped her head, and despite being in a room full of relatives she knows and is comfortable with, she sought me out because I was the only person she wanted at that moment. I'm leaning more towards leaving my ex to live her life, and letting my daughter decide whether she wants to reach out when she's older and has all the facts. Her mom left us for 3 years and spent half of it with another man. Regarding child support and legal action, I'm working on it, but I need to get sole custody sorted first. We should have a family court hearing in the next week or two, so fingers crossed. Update. This got deleted, so I'm reposting it. First off, I want to address some comments on the last post, saying how I was posting, but not taking action legal or otherwise, and others mentioning child support. I have been busy dealing with my ex, but I've been keeping my cards close to my chest to this point. Locally, sole custody is instantly given to the mother if the child's parents aren't married, meaning my ex could have asked for custody and would have been likely to get it even though she's a stranger to my daughter. So once she resurfaced, I got the ball rolling for sole custody, and finally, it was granted to me. With help from a friend who studied law and helped me get sole custody, I've drawn up a draft of a custody agreement for my ex, stating that she needs to start paying child support before any visitation is discussed. And I'm hoping to get a clause where I can void the agreement at any time so my daughter is protected in case she disappears again. But I'm not sure if it will be included. My friend and the solicitor lawyer she works for are sorting it out, and they understand that my daughter's well-being is the only thing I care about. Now that I have sole custody, she's legally obligated to start paying child support, so I'll have a bit more financial security. The matter of the back pay is still up for debate. It's going to be included mainly so we have something to drop if the agreement is contested. But either way, my baby girl is all mine. and that's enough for now. This brought about a tense meeting with my ex. Following my solicitor's advice, we met face to face, and I told her to bring a witness so she couldn't claim that she didn't receive a copy of the custody agreement. I was expecting her to bring her sister since she and I stayed in contact, so she could have a relationship with her niece, but I was wrong. I got there a few minutes earlier than we had arranged to meet so I could rehearse what I was going to say. But as I sat there waiting, something bothered me. And then my ex walked in with a guy a little shorter than me. And it didn't take me long to guess who it was. Luke. My ex, and I chatted away about her therapy sessions. Luke chimed in once to reassure me that my ex wanted nothing more than to make up for her mistakes. But I basically ignored him. And I then told her that I had been to a solicitor, and she had a legal obligation to start paying child support. I also told her that I was done talking to her for the time being, and that visitation was out of the question. I admitted that if she could prove that she was able to be an actual parent, this time a stable home, a source of income with child support being paid on time, and her therapist confirming that she is attending her appointments and is improving mentally, I would be willing to talk about visitation, but not anytime soon. She accepted that, though she did shed a couple of tears. I'm fairly sure it was legit crying and not crocodile tears. Luke then chimed in again to tell me that all my ex could talk about was my daughter. But I ignored him again and gave my ex the paperwork from the solicitor and told her she was welcome to get a solicitor to look it over first. I also said that if my daughter wants to meet her when she's older, I won't stop her. But I will tell her about how her mom abandoned her if the subject comes up. She swore that she was going to do everything she could to make amends with me, but I told her that I'm not the one she needs to make amends with. The innocent child she abandoned is. Aside from that, I've been seeing a girl for about 6 or 7 months now, but it was really just a casual hookup sort of thing since my daughter is my main focus, which she understands. Then, 4 weeks ago, we had a pregnancy scare, but it got us talking about us and the future. We both wanted to make things more serious between us, so I introduced her to my daughter last week, and they're already growing close, which I'm delighted about. Just last night, she popped in after work for a visit, and my daughter asked her for a kiss goodnight when it was her bedtime. Before that, she never asked or allowed anyone other than me to kiss her goodnight. Not even my brothers or my parents, so believe me, I was amazed. Plus, a young couple recently moved in over the road with a 3-year-old girl and a 4-month-old baby, so my daughter has been making friends with them, which is awesome. She hasn't made many friends outside of preschool, so it's great that she has someone around her age to play with. She's living her best life, and as a dad, I couldn't be happier. Plus, we're going bowling tomorrow to celebrate getting sole custody. She's too little to understand the whole sole custody thing, but she's excited, so to her, it's a daddy-daughter date. We played 2 games, and I lost both times, but she had a lot of fun, so I'll probably bring her for little dates more often. I might do another update once my ex and I have an agreement in place, but we'll see. And I know this may sound crazy, but part of me still cares about my ex, and I really hope she finds happiness like I have with my daughter. In the meantime, thanks again for the comments and support. I cannot overstate how much it means to me. P.S. When I uploaded this update before, I mentioned meeting Luke once. I spoke to a friend that was with me and told him about it, and he found a picture of my ex with Luke. He doesn't think it's the same guy, and I'm not sure after one meeting where I mostly ignored him. Thank you for watching the video.